Real talk, raw truth, raging hearts. Welcome to From the Minds of Raging Brats. Like, share, and subscribe.
Hi, I'm Heather. Welcome to From the Minds of Raging Brats.
I'm Ashley. It's good to see you guys again.
How's your week been, love?
You know, we're getting through, and we're getting through with affirmations and sheer determination. How's your week been?
My week has been pretty good overall. I have put in some work in different areas that I needed to for my car situation and got all those squared away, and now I'm just waiting on responses. And I think I have mostly gotten my bills under control since the whole fiasco with my motor blowing, but sometimes you're a little underwater for a little bit, but as long as you can swim, you'll get back up there.
Exactly. As long as you can just tell yourself you're going to get through and you are implementing actions to help that, you'll always get back on top.
Yeah, I really have been in this really positive headspace, like even under stress lately. I've been talking about it a lot with my therapist lately too. I'm really blown away, like, because I'm under more stress and more stress and more stress every week. It seems like than I have been even in past years when I've been under extreme stress. And I'm like, and yet I feel like I have almost no stress because I'm just so carefree and chill and like I honestly kind of been staying to myself a lot lately because everybody around me seems to be having some kind of crisis. And I'm like, while I totally validate the feeling of being in crisis, at the same time, I'm sitting over here looking at situations and I'm like, I can see very positive solutions right here. And I don't think anybody really wants to hear that because they don't sound like they want to hear there's a silver lining right now. So I'm just going to sit over here by myself because I can't not see silver linings even in my own bullshit right now. So I'm just going to sit over here and be quiet. I don't want to be miserable, but I don't want to make anybody else feel invalidated.
Yeah. Well, I've been in a crisis mode lately. That's why I've been off the podcast for a while. But in the last, I'd say week and a half, I really had to sit down with myself again and be like, so you can choose to waller and have self-pity and, oh my God, my world's crumbling for the millionth and tenth time. And I don't know what to do. I was like, or we could do what we've learned how to do, which is boss the fuck up, figure it out, and start doing actions to get a goal to happen. Because just sitting here being like, why is everything wrong, and not working on it is the reason you're starting to panic. And things have gotten better since I started doing the steps again and putting in the work again instead of allowing myself to panic.
Yeah, I get those panic attacks that I used to get now still, all the time. It's this weird place that I'm in where I will be like, Heather, why are you panicking right now? Why is your heart starting to race? What is happening that you feel in danger? And then I'm like, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is happening. And then I'm like, okay, brain, then why the fuck are we doing this to ourselves? And then I almost feel a little bit stupid and I stop panicking. It's been working and I like it, even if other people look at me crazy when I start talking to myself out loud.
Whatever helps you is what you should do. Hey, my thing lately has been I was in chaos mode and I was freaking out. And then finally I was like, is this anywhere near the worst shit we've been through? And you're going to let yourself go back to that person again over trivial garbage, shit that you can and will be walking away from soon. And started putting my boundaries back up, like with people that I didn't even realize I was letting slip. Like, I have restarted the you don't get to talk to me like that. Like, I will be nice and polite with you, but you do not speak to me like I'm a child. And that alone has brought so much peace back into my life.
Respect is a two-way street. You want it, you gotta give it.
Exactly, like, especially from the people that taught you that. Because I grew up my whole life, like, you have to earn respect. Like, you want somebody to treat you kindly, you treat them kindly. Oh wait, what is it? The golden rule. So, how's Bear been?
He's a little struggling with the IA dropping him because like I said, they were really shady about it. They gave him a bunch of paperwork that he had to catch up on apart from online that he was supposed to turn in when he came back from spring break.
Yeah.
And they would have come back from spring break on Tuesday. On Monday, they called us and said he was dropped.
See, that's messed up because they gave him a hope that he was going to be able to work hard enough and get back into the school he wanted to be just for that.
Well, and he'd already gotten his other grades up.
Yeah. And no, see, and that just inspires kids to not trust the education system that they're in.
Well, and they often say that it's the parents that are to blame for the lack of trust in the school system, but I'll be real honest. As a parent, I have religiously over and over tried to work with these school systems. Now, my older kids, we didn't have as much issues with, not because they didn't have behaviors and stuff like Bear, because they did. They just had better educators and better school systems at the time, 30 years ago, 20 years ago. They just had better educators. And like my older kids, because of how smart they were, like they just breezed through school. But they were always supported when they were younger, not like Bear, where Bear was put through hell. He has that same intelligence level and that same ability if people would just work with him, but he has to trust them, and it takes a lot for somebody to earn trust with him, and rarely do they ever do it because they'll tell him something, and within the first couple weeks of school, a teacher's told him something and then went back on their word, or told him if he does this XYZ, he'll get this grade. And then he works his hardest, turns it in, and they're like, yeah, but because it was late, we're going to deduct X amount of percentage from the grade just before we even grade it. And he's like, but you told me if I did it by this date, then I wouldn't have that. And they're like, well, the school system says, yeah, well, that's a really...
Then you shouldn't have said it. They should not make these agreements with kids and then later being like, well, it's not my fault I can't go through with what I said.
Yeah, but actually it is.
No, I'm saying like the teachers...
You're the one grading the paper, so it is on you.
No, exactly. And I agree. And if you don't know, maybe you could say, let's check in to see if this can happen. Not saying you're going to do it. And we wonder why kids do that to us.
The school system really, I'm trying to point out their positives as well because I don't want this to feel like it's just a straight attack on the school system because, there are some positives, but there's also a heap load of negatives nowadays, especially where teachers are getting burnout and teachers are quitting left, right, and center, and kids aren't even having a teacher sometimes through their full year because the teacher doesn't even get all the way through the year when they've had enough. They've had enough with the school board. They've had enough with the principals. They've had enough with the students, and even especially with a lot of parents that are
especially the parents.
kids to these days where they're like, well, who cares if my kid punched this kid in the face? This kid said they were stuck up, so they deserve to punch him in the face. And it's like, bro, I don't even have time for your bullshit.
Right? Well, like, I used to work for a school district in Southern Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
And I would go into these classrooms and talk to some of these teachers. And some of them would just bawl, like just sobbing by the end of every single day because they have kids cussing them out. Then they have the parents calling and cussing them out. Then they have the school district being like, you're not doing your job right, even though we told you exactly how to do it and what you are and are not allowed to do. And some of them have only been teaching 5 years, but it's nothing like they thought it was. I was like, it's sad for them because some of them honestly really do want to be good teachers. They're just not being supported themselves.
Well, and they have a lot of outdated curriculums that align with today's realities, and kids don't take school seriously because of that. Instead of them modernizing the curriculum to meet people where they're at, and this changing this like Common Core math crap is so crazy to me. Like, what is wrong with arithmetic? Why do we arithmetic? Our parents were doing arithmetic. Our grandparents, our great grandparents, as far back as civilized countries have existed, people have been doing arithmetic. Why did that need to change to Common Core?
It shouldn't have had to change, but the reason they said they did it is because it's commonly taught over like in Japan and over there. And they thought, or they said there's evidence that it's easier for young children to understand. I don't agree with that just because the struggles I had with my kid with it. But it was with the best of intentions. It just didn't work out well for them.
I don't think it was with the best of intentions, because when you add 20 steps to something that's already complicated enough, how are you making anything easier for anybody?
Yeah, no, I don't get it. Like, Coda had to teach me how to do it, honestly. That and YouTube. Lots of YouTube.
Kids teachers have taught me multiple times, and I look at them all the same way.
Yeah.
Why are you making me do more work when I can just do 1 + 1 = 2? I don't need to do 1 over here, 1 over here, and this box plus this box equals this box, and now we can move it back over. No! 1 + 1 = 2. We're done.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely agreed. And then, like, during the pandemic, the teachers would get mad if you weren't teaching them the way they wanted them to learn. Like, well, come to my house then. You come here and teach him, because I cannot do this. I can do it my way, the way I've been taught. And if you tell him he's wrong, even though he gets the right answer, I'm going to get mad.
Very. That's one of the things that they bring up a lot because of parent mistrust. They're like, listen, constantly schools are getting more and more about politics. They're treating kids more like second-class citizens, but yet they want us to be involved fully as parents in stuff that they don't even want to be involved in themselves. Like, let's be real, these schools, they will make up like these dances and stuff and then just be like, why are we even doing this? And it's like, when I was a kid, you didn't have to get us kids involved in school spirit. Like, if you talked about throwing a dance, everybody wanted to be involved. Everybody was coming. And yes, even the poor kids, and everybody in the community made sure that everybody got to go to those things, and it supported the school. And nowadays, like, scholastic book fairs, they mostly do them during school hours now because otherwise nobody shows up. When we were kids, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, scholastic book fairs, yeah, they had them in schools during lunch, and that would be packed. But then they were also after school for like 4 days, and they were packed. Your parents brought you every fucking time.
Yeah, and everybody went, even if you were poor, because they had like the few cent erasers. It was time for us to hang out and like look at stuff we didn't usually have.
And the schools always had little like scholarships because of people bringing in donations. Where if there was a
Mm-hmm.
kid that brought their family in and they didn't have money to buy it, they would get like a $5 certificate or something that they could pick anything out for up to $5 or $10, depending on what your reading level was usually.
Yeah. Well, like I asked Coda recently about like dances at his school, and he's like, "Yeah, I think they have them." I was like, "Well, you don't want to go?" And he's like, "Why?" They do that for the adult. They throw these dances and they get to feel good about themselves and they get extra opportunities to say, look what we did for these kids, even though we don't want to go. I was like, that is one way to look at that that I hadn't really thought about.
We never looked at those like that. We looked at them as more opportunities to hang out with our friends, to get our parents to spend some money on us, put a little bit of attention into us, buying us a dress or a tux or whatever,
Mhm.
and like pleading or working really hard for months before so you can afford a limo with your friends. Like,
Yeah.
we love that shit. And if we could all pitch in and afford a limo without our parents, bro, we were like, don't even ask when we'll be back. We'll be back when we're back. Bye.
Right? Because we paid for it.
Yeah. And your parents didn't argue with you because they were like, you're right. You paid for it. Fuck off.
See, like, for me personally, I never attended any dances when I got to high school. I went to a couple in middle school, but I would dress out and hang out outside of the dances, which was just as good for me. Like, I still got to see everybody, and teachers weren't bothering me doing what I was doing. But I still wanted to go, like, be around everybody. I just didn't want to be in the school. But it was still a big thing.
I didn't go to high school, so junior high was the only place that I got to experience school dances.
Yeah.
I was a part of the stoner kids, so we kind of hung out behind the school. But we
Mm-hmm.
did. But we always made an appearance. Like, we always went in for a minute,
Exactly.
got a drink, said hi to everybody, and then kind of mysteriously, poof, we were gone.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Got to say hi to everybody, got to see if anybody's dress was like amazing, and then went and did my thing.
To
And
tell us,
and
because I was never a stoner.
yeah, and because of the way my mom was, she was like that weird protective, like she would be like, I don't mind her going to dances because they're chaperoned. She has an adult. She didn't know. The adult was a very temporary thing on the whole aspect.
They didn't really ask where your parents were in my generation. They knew they'd give a fuck.
Oh, see, I think my teachers realized my mom didn't. It's just that they didn't understand. They're like, what do you mean? All parents are like protective and love everything their kids do and dote on every single word. And I'm like, where you
What?
from? And I'm like, where you from? I want to go there. I'll move. It's like common there too? Shit. But anymore, I feel like it doesn't even matter just within Oregon. I feel like this is happening to a lot more states. Like kids are
Yeah,
being uninterested and they're not getting the curriculum that actually engages them. Like it's sad.
when I looked up statistics for nationwide, those were the things I was talking about earlier. But
Mm-hmm.
Oregon specific statistics, we had a few, both are good and bad. Like, we have, Oregon has one of the highest rates of chronic absenteeism in the country.
Mm-hmm.
That means students are missing 10% or more of school days. Well, my student is one of those. But there's medical reasons.
Yes. It's not like he's ditching and just not being there. He's with you, sick, dealing with his diabetes.
And not only that, but he not only does he have doctor's notes, but he also was dual enrolled online and in person. So why are you making it a barrier to his health, a barrier to his education? Why not just put the assignments on the Chromebook that he's missing so he can do them, and then he's at class level?
Yeah. Yeah, see,
And
and
then
I definitely agree with that.
and then make up when he gets back, instead of trying to make up everything, then all you have to do is make up the things that were only available in person, like exams, which takes up
Yeah.
less time for everybody involved.
But like you said, like the way they went about it was shady, so they weren't going to go about it the right way because they already had an outcome they wanted.
And root causes for absenteeism in Oregon are housing instability, the level of
Mm-hmm.
homelessness that people experience here, mental health, poverty, lack of transportation. All of these are issues that go way beyond school walls, and that the school needs to find a way to be more compassionate about, to work with these families, especially in a day and age where it's so easy for kids to just take a laptop home and catch up on any assignments as they upload them in there. They can do that at almost any school now, at least here in Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you make that a barrier to a child's success, knowing that they have severe health issues? And lately he's had some legal issues too. Plus, they knew that he's going to be going to residential treatment for a while.
Yeah.
That was going to be coming up. So they make him transfer in the last 9 weeks of school. And then the arrogant principal has the gall to say to me, "Oh, but also I just wanted to say we really do want Bear here. So if he works really hard and doesn't miss any more school for the next 9 weeks and brings his grades up, then in the fall he can come back." And
Fuck you, he got his grade back.
and that
Sorry.
got my son's heart up, like in this hopeful place. And I feel so terrible for him, because why would you want to go back to a place that obviously does not want you to succeed?
Yeah. But unfortunately, the teenage brain, he probably doesn't see that aspect of it. He just sees he actually found a place that he was enjoying learning. He enjoyed the people, like maybe one or two of the teachers, and that's the only aspect he's looking at.
Yeah, I know his friends are a big deal to him, but like even that, when I was transferring stuff from his old phone to his new phone, when we changed phone plans, I found videos that were saved on the phone that he had recorded on normal days at school, where they were in the middle of the main school area where they have all the desks and stuff, the different classes, but there's like no walls, it's just a giant open area where kids are just beating the hell out of each other, and until one of them hits the ground, the teachers don't jump in or anything. They're just watching along with students.
No, I'm so sorry right now. My kid will never go there now. Because I'll go to jail for whooping somebody's ass for whooping my kid's ass. Or I'll do what I used to do with your nieces, and I'll just pay a 16-year-old to do it.
I'm just saying that I don't understand why they feel like that is appropriate.
I don't know why they feel that it's appropriate, but it absolutely is not.
No, it isn't. And what was funny is because I feel like the reason they kicked him out so quickly, because they were trying to wait till the end of the school year, I knew that. They were setting up a paper document, but I'm pretty sure that the reason that they ultimately kicked him out so quickly was because they got in trouble for making some inappropriate CPS reports that, one, were unfounded, but also, two, a part of the reports violated his Student Privacy Act, because he was on his personal cell phone with his parent, who was upset with him for getting in trouble. And said his dad said to him, "If I come down there, you're done." And they took that as a threat of him getting beat. Like, this kid doesn't even get spanked, but they took that as a threat of like physical harm and reported it to CPS. And when they didn't get the reaction from CPS that they wanted, they got in trouble for listening to a student's private conversation between their parents on their own private cell phone. Then all of a sudden he got dropped. Like, how childish.
Yeah.
How childish system to put my son's education in the middle of their pettiness.
Yeah. Well, that is something that I have noticed about certain teachers, and I don't think this just pertains to Oregon school systems. But a lot of teachers have like this pretentiousness about them, like they know better, like nobody could know their kid like them. And when they don't get somebody in trouble, like with CPS, or like the kid starts going down a path they don't like, they throw a tantrum, like full blown 2-year-old freaking tantrum.
Oh yeah, I know.
2-year-old that can call CPS.
That's another one of the Oregon issues is the lack of substitute teachers and support staff. The teachers,
Yes.
the shortage of subs, aides, and behavioral support staff in Oregon, which creates an unsafe environment, especially for kids with higher needs in crisis, because you and I both know with kids that are neurodivergent, they get overstimulated, overwhelmed. There's going to be a behavior because they don't know how to communicate that they're overwhelmed, overstimulated, done.
Exactly. And if they don't have the trained staff to know how to deal with the behavior, that makes the teacher burn out even faster.
Yeah, I was going to say, and the teachers are stretched so dangerously thin that they don't even know what to do anymore. That is not a good thing for the school system to be under. Like, and the fact that these schools are getting away with these level of, and I will call it what it is, abuses, because they are abuses of power, abuses of children, abuses of power, abuses of power in situations where, like the calling of CPS for not. It's like he told them in one of the reports that I self-admitted to abusing my son, whereas what I actually said was that I had changed my parenting style from with my older kids to Bear, that I didn't use physical punishment or any kind of physical punishment anymore, because even though it was not considered abuse to me, it felt abusive.
Yeah, I definitely understand that.
How is that me self-admitting to abusing my child?
It's not. It's somebody choosing to take your words out of context to support their own narrative.
And so I was pretty offended, because that means you weren't actually listening to me. You never had any intention of helping my child. You had every intention of trying to find a way to push him out so that once again he could be neglected and mistreated by the system that's supposed to care for him and help him into adulthood, be a contributing member of society.
Yeah. So I know in Oregon we have some of the lowest scores in math and writing. And honestly, we do not have good, like, in my opinion, services for teachers here. And that's one of the number one reasons. We just expect them to handle it all. Like, we took away their aides. We took away their services that come into this classroom and watch and just like offer suggestions like, hey, maybe you could try like this teaching method or like this or like whatever. In the last few years, they lost everything that was supposed to be teaching them how to be better teachers. At least around here.
And they have to pay for most of the classroom supplies out of pocket. Like, who wants to come to the job to make their money just to pour their money back into the job because the job doesn't want to provide you with the supplies necessary to do said job.
Well, like, the crazy thing to me is okay, so they're supposed to pay for their own supplies, but I know teachers, some of them right now are making less a year than I do. And I'm below poverty. So how are they doing it? And they have families and stuff too. Like, I just feel for them.
Like, nobody should have to be. Again, I'm trying to keep a balanced episode, so there are a couple positives. Oregon has Promise grants and no tuition community college. Oregon Promise offers a path to free community college for many high school grads. While not perfect, it's a step towards accessible higher education, especially helpful for first-gen students and families in rural areas. We also have a strong push for culturally responsive teaching and ethnic studies. Oregon is one of the few states working to make ethnic studies a graduation requirement. There's a growing momentum for teaching inclusive history and civics if it survives political resistance, that is.
See, and that's truly the scary thing. For me, like, I'm very political, but to watch everything that is happening, and I'm like, we're already not doing well, and you're gonna take our DEI courses, you're going to take our inclusivity, things that we teach about kids, we're gonna stop teaching them emotional regulation. And then that's just going to get so much worse for our teachers, for our students that are having to go through this. And it's not like it's great now, but I'm terrified of the course it's going to take.
Well, at some point, they need to realize that, one, we need home economics back in school.
Yes.
Every single student should know how to balance a checkbook or their finances, so to speak. I know that checkbooks aren't really a thing now, but using a budget is.
Yeah.
Every student should understand how to sew a seam in case they rip their clothes and need to mend something. Every student, male or female, should know how to cook themselves a meal and should know survival. Health class should include sex education like it did in Gen X, where they taught you how to use feminine products, how to spot signs that you were going to be starting your period so you knew to carry feminine products, how to use a condom, what STDs were, how babies were made. End of story. It wasn't
Lakota's health class taught him that stuff. Like, he's very uncomfortable that he just watched a condom be put on something. He's like, why? Why? I was like, dude, because you need to know. And not everybody's teacher or not everybody's parent is going to teach them these basic life things. They should, but not all of them do.
Some people prefer their kids to go through life blissfully ignorant, but that is how people get STDs. That is how people get hurt. That is how people have unplanned pregnancies. That's just not the safe way to do it.
And that's the thing, like, I also wanted to bring up. It has been proven that states with bad education, with whatever, have a higher rate of teen pregnancy and infant infant mortality. So if we start to let these schools slip further and further into disrepair, what that ultimately means is we're going to have more and more teen parents that don't know how to take care of their kids, that are emotionally unregulated. And then what? We get to repeat the system again, only more folks?
Yeah, nobody seems to take into account what they were preaching. Michael Jackson and all the group of singers was preaching in the 80s. They are our future. Think about that. I know you're like, we want to make them even easily malleable and manipulative, and so we can just put them into our little funnels of people and how do we direct them. But then think about that. Think about that. That is the kind of people that eventually are going to be ruling over you
Yeah.
in your end of lifetime. Is that what you want? Some sheep that doesn't care about anybody outside of themselves, that will just follow the lead with whatever garbage person hands them the next prize? Like, come on. We want kids that can think for themselves, that can manage a day-to-day life, that can get up and go to a job and or build a business from the ground up and become millionaires because they're geniuses. Like, we want kids doing that like they used to. We do not want kids sitting at home at a video game thinking that if they pick up a real gun and shoot somebody, it's okay, they can hit the reset button.
Exactly. Like, and I think as a nation, we used to understand the value of education way more. I think we lost that somewhere.
We definitely lost it along the line, but it would behoove our future generation valuable education back into basic arithmetic instead of common core crap. Reading. Let's bring reading back. Get Pizza Hut and other places involved like they used to be, where if you read so many books, I think it was like 5 books a month, you got a free personal pan pizza.
I remember that.
And like, kids wanted to read, not because, oh, we got to read every night because that's the homework. It was like, oh, instead of our teachers giving us reading homework every week, it was just like, hey, if you get a book read this week, a whole book read this week, then, that's 1 book towards your 5 this month. And if you read at least 1 a week, that's 4. So somewhere in there, you'll have to put some a little extra effort to get that 5th one in, but that's not hard. And people are like,
I think that's one of the reasons. Like, when I was a kid, I was the type of kid that you had to tell to like turn off my flashlight to stop reading, blah blah blah, because I knew I was going to get a reward. I was going to get a lot of pizza that month for staying up late reading a book.
Yeah, I read so many books as a kid. I constantly had Pizza Hut certificates. I probably had a personal pan pizza like every other week to every week, because I read so many books. It was like 5. Shoot, 5. I got 5 today. What are you talking about?
Right? Exactly. Like, or smart readers.
Yeah,
I love
especially because it was easy to read like Goosebumps and stuff. And it was like, oh, I can finish like 6 of those in an hour.
Right? And like, my smart reader, she was awesome. She like traveled around the world, and during the winter for her job, she would volunteer as a smart reader like every other week. She was awesome.
Well, they need to bring back mentorship programs too, because kids need young adults that have positive jobs or influences, like firefighters and models and actresses and stuff like that they can go hang out with once a week or once every other week, and feel like they belong with that older crowd, but they're being influenced to find positive goals in those times.
I definitely agree. Like, I think people can sometimes not realize how important it is to have those mentors and those people in your life that are doing good, making money, they're happy, like, because it shows you what you can have.
Oh, and it's like, I know everybody's not religious, and really, I wasn't really religious either, but even like the good time Bible study bus thing that would pull up at the school, and if you wanted to go to Bible study, you could get out of class and you would win prizes for memorizing Bible verses and stuff. But more than anything, like, it wasn't so much about the Bible, it was about connecting with the people. Like, it was another little community that you were connected with, And when you'd be out hanging out, seeing around town, you'd see your friends. And whether it was with your everyday hang group or your school group or your church group, it didn't matter. When you were out and about, if you saw your friends, everybody could hang out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, I'm not a kid anymore, but I feel like when we were younger, the youth was a lot more inclusive. Like, they hadn't quite adopted all their parents' racisms or their bigotry, and they weren't screaming about politics that they couldn't even vote about yet at 14.
Don't get me wrong, we had our cliques and there were bullies that they would find you in or out of school. It didn't really matter. But like bullies, you handle differently than now. It's like you get bullied in school and it's like, oh, don't bully me. And you just have to put up with it because if you fight back, you're the one that gets expelled for fighting and for violence because everything's a no tolerance anymore, which is ridiculous in and of itself because different circumstances, it should always be a case by case basis. There should be no absolutes in anything, first of all. But
exactly.
Also, like a bully can only go as far as you'll let him. So if somebody's bullying you, standing up to him and punching him in the fucking nose usually ends the bullying.
Worked for me every time.
And then everybody gets to go their separate ways and go about their business, and this bully's not going to fuck with this kid anymore because they know better. And then the office and everything doesn't have to get involved. Why do they have to make it such a big deal nowadays? Like, no, if my kid gets punched in the mouth because he's being a bully, then not only is he going to get have that fucking punch in the mouth, when he gets home, he's in trouble with me.
Yeah. See, I think the reason that they started doing that is because it stopped letting kids solve their own problems. It made them even more dependent on teachers and all the adults around them. Because you have to go to an adult to solve your problems now.
I don't like it. I don't like it going to the adult, but I don't like this absolute anything, no tolerance. But yet, every time somebody's being bullied, we didn't see it, so we can't know. Either it's no tolerance, and the minute somebody says they're being bullied, you handle that as if you just witnessed it, or it's not tolerance, it's selective tolerance, and get the fuck out of here with that.
See, and that's exactly what it is. And they will use whatever words they have to dress it up and make it sound nice to basically say, we only judge, we only do things about the things we want to.
That's a problem. That's been a problem. And I'm not saying that favoritism didn't happen in my day, because, it did. But it was much more frowned upon. And if you were caught out playing that game, you were more than likely going to be terminated from your job and investigated to make sure you weren't being a predator.
Yeah.
So, like, that's more of the appropriate response, I feel like, than what it is now.
I agree. I think that they want our children to be weak. They want them to come to us for every little thing. They want them to feel like they can never depend on themselves. So that way, when they get older, they depend on the government, or they depend on whoever is telling them what to do next.
Yeah, but my kid is not, I mean, he'll follow along if he's interested in what somebody's doing, even if it's criminal. But if he thinks you're full of shit, bullshit, you can't convince him no matter what. You could literally take him into a bank and have the entire bank full of money, top to bottom, from wall to door, and he would still look at you and be like, and?
Yes. But your kid also hasn't been in the public school system the whole time, and you have raised him to do a very good job most of the time to sit there and really think about what's going on around him.
Well, yeah, because oftentimes situations can seem very different than what they are from the outside. And falling for that, especially in today's day and age, is a good way to not have a good outcome with your life.
Honestly, and it's getting easier and easier, I feel, to have a minor fuck up destroy your entire life.
Oh boy, howdy.
Like,
Oh boy, howdy.
and I should know, like, my fuck up, like, derailed my life for several years at one point. But it feels like now it's a minor fuck up in school, a minor, like, accident, like, a misunderstanding, and they can't get into school again, and they get kicked out, or all of a sudden, like, they can't go into college because their high school won't refer them.
Or like
Ridiculous.
I'm too ignorant to talk to him about fraud because I have no knowledge of the law, and I'm just like, bro, oh, how mistaken are you? And listen, bro, you should really be careful how you judge a book by its cover, because just because I don't have a law degree because I'm a felon and they told me that it would be a waste of my time to get a law degree doesn't mean I don't know shit about the law. You probably watch how you talk.
Exactly.
And then had the audacity to tell me that I should file my parents' divorce. I should be the person to file my parents' divorce. I'm like, that's inappropriate beyond inappropriate. Like, as the child in the divorce, no matter how I feel about either party in this matter is irrelevant. They're both my parents. Why would you want me to be in the middle of that? That's
a very good point. Very. All right. Well, I think all we can do at this point is try and educate our children ourselves as much as we can, and support them and give them life experiences so that they can get those lessons in a healthy and safe environment.
All right. That's it for today's episode from the Minds of Raging Brats. We survived another deep dive, barely. Maybe.
Hey, we made it.
If you didn't yell at your speaker at least once, were we even doing our job?
Right? So tell us, what do you think? What is your experience with the school system? And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Super glad Ashley could be back with us this week. We have missed you. And
missed you all.
We will be seeing you regularly again. And we definitely will be looking out for new content every week. We will keep you going and flowing regardless of what is happening in the crisis of our lives, because, you know, we are just human. So life's life for us too. Until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and remember, rage responsibly.
We're also available on Spotify. We said what we said, and we're just getting started. Thanks for listening. Now go rage responsibly. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.